His win over Spurs on Thursday night means they are now just 3 points behind the Red Devils. Let's look at the bottom of the table because that's where all of Friday night's action was happening. Luton missing a huge opportunity to move out of the drop zone, only able to get a point. It takes them level with Nottingham Forest, having played a game more, but they remain behind because of that inferior goal difference. Great to have you on the show as we preview all the weekend's action. Unbelievable, heading into match week 36, that we have two debutantes on Team Talks tonight. We got Leon Osman and Clinton Morrison in the house. Oh, fancy you guys joining us for Team Talks tonight.
You've been wanting us to be on here for ages, so we finally come on here. Make everyone happy.
We have worn you down. For the entire season, we've been saying, Team Talks, join us, Team Talks, Team Talks. And here you are. Leon brought donuts?
I did, yes. I wanted to make sure everyone was happy and then maybe I'll get invited back.
You definitely will, because the donuts were really nice, mate. Oh, as you can see here, I ate a lot of them.
Couldn't have a few.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what that means, Everton, Brentford safe, it means it's down to Nottingham Forest, Luton Town and Burnley, of course, to fight it out for survival. We're going to move on to matters at the other end of the table because at the Emirates Stadium on Saturday, to kick off the action, it's Arsenal versus Bournemouth. Let's hear from Mikel Arteta, followed by Andoni Iraola.
Yes, everybody's fit and available, so now is the headache to make the right selection.
Good headache.
Good headache.
Your game is first of the afternoon. Do you prefer that? Just get your job done.
It's what it is. We played in many different scenarios this season, and we are clear. Our job is clear. We have to win our game, and then we have to wait. And the only thing that we can focus on is on that.
Media reports suggest you're close to signing Jorginho on a new contract. Any more on that? And how much would you love to keep him? He's been a great sign.
I would love to keep him. He knows that, and the club is fully supportive of that. He's a really important player with us on and off the field, and he makes us better, so we want him to stay.
16 goals from corners this season. 16, that is quite unbelievable. I see some of the goals, the individual goals from corners, the players doing different things, and just tell us more on that and the success, and those set pieces could potentially win you big trophies. And
it's an accumulation of a lot of things. We work in a lot of phases of play and things that, in our opinion, can help us to be more competitive, to win more matches, and certainly set pieces are something fundamental in football.
Declan Rice, voted second in the Football Writers Player of the Year. What an amazing signing he's been. I just wanted to talk more about him. And I know it was a longish process in the summer, but what a brilliant signing he's been.
Yeah, he's been great. He's had such an impact from day one. It's not easy when you come from a club that you've been there for a long time, but he sets up really good. He's a great group. I think they've been really, really supportive with him as well. And there are players that they just come in and glide and they become part of it straight away. I remember a conversation I had with him. We were still in the US in pre-season, and I think it was 8-9 days. And he said, it feels like I've been here for 2 years, so that's a good sign.
Tomorrow, Man City Wolves, if you get your job done, what are you going to do? You're going to watch it at home, go out for dinner, or go out for dinner and watch it on your phone? What are you going to do?
If I can, I watch them. I love watching great games, and obviously it's a lot of stake. And let's do what we have to do first.
Cheers, Mikel.
Thank you.
Alex and Theo.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
Bournemouth having a great season, record number of points. I know you know him well, but what do you make of the job that Andoni Iraola has done? A
fantastic job. To come into the Premier League and do what he's done, huge credit to him, the coaching staff and the players, obviously. They have a difficult start. They kept doing what they believed in, and huge credit. It's unbelievable what they've done in the manner that they've done it as well, which is, in my opinion, very important as well. And yeah, congratulate them because it's a fantastic achievement.
97th minute winner scored against them last season. What are your memories of that game? Do you like winning like that?
I had a great memory because the game ended up in a really beautiful way, and it was one of the highlights of the season. So we know we're going to have to earn it tomorrow again. It's going to be a really tough match, but the team is ready.
How important is that never say die attitude at this stage of the season? Always.
Well, at any stage, but now, obviously, with what is there to win, we know that you're going to have to win games in different ways, and that can be won. And hopefully tomorrow it's not that, but if it has to be to win it, welcome.
How much are the players enjoying this run-in?
Yeah, the energy is really good. We just had a training session and the energy was fantastic again. They're really at it. They are really enthusiastic. We're going to give it a real go.
Brilliant. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Brad Talksport.
Hi Mikel,
Hi.
I hope you're well. You passed 100 Premier League wins with that win over Tottenham Hotspur last week. You're the youngest manager to have achieved that. I just wondered how much that means to you and how proud you are of the progress the team has made during your time here.
Yeah, that's a contribution for a lot of people that in this journey has been extremely supportive and obviously helps you to win games. So gratitude towards that, and it's just hopefully the beginning of something much bigger that can bring trophies, which is what we want.
Kai Havertz said after the game last week that he felt the side had learnt lessons from last year. What changes have you noticed in the group this season?
Well, some of them are noticeable, but some others are as well related to what is happening in games, that it is different what was happening last year at Spurs as well. We had a very different game to the one that we had the previous year or against any other rivals, but we managed the situation quite well. It could have been better, and there's always room for improvement, but I think the team is more mature. Obviously, the health and condition of the squad is in a much better place right now. And all these factors, I think, contribute to be in a better position.
I want to take you back to Declan Rice as well, because he's spoken recently about the excitement he felt when he heard about Arsenal were interested in him in his first conversations with you. Obviously, he played in a slightly different role at West Ham, where he was a bit more defensive, but here he's been allowed to get forward a lot more. Just how coachable has he been for you during your time working with him?
Yeah, that's the right word. He was really enthusiastic, eyes open, ears open, very willing to learn, to take information, and on top of that as well, you need to absorb an enormous amount of responsibility and expectations, and that's a difficult bag sometimes to carry, and he's done it in a really composed and calm way, and that's very impressive because he's still a really young player.
And lastly, before he came to Arsenal, one thing that was always said about him was that he needs to score more goals by some people. He's got 6 this season. How much more do you think there is to come from him there?
I think there is much more there. We have to put him in more situations for him to exploit that talent that he has. He needs to recognize as well certain situations earlier. He needs to build that relationship and chemistry within the units that he's playing with, something that is still quite raw, and especially with the amount of change that we made in that left side this season. So all this is going to contribute for his development, and hopefully we can see much more.
That's great. Best luck tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
George, BBC.
Mikel, hello. I know
Hi.
you don't do ifs, but if Partey and Timber have played a lot more this season, just how many extra points do you think they could be worth? And it's a shame, really, you haven't been able to get them out. How crucial could they be for the last few games?
Do you have a coin? Ding! I have no clue. We have missed them because when you have them around, at the end the team is more competitive, there is more quality there, there is more leadership there. That's for sure. But to be honest as well, the players that they played in their position, they've been exceptional. So let's see. Now, probably your question in 3-6 months' time when they have played hopefully a lot of games, I can be more concrete.
Okay. If you win tomorrow, I think it's a Premier League record for Arsenal's wins. But what have you said to the players with 3 games to go about just seizing the moment with what's left?
Absolutely. Just focus and put all your energy and focus in finding that determination and that willingness to do our best to earn the right to win games. And the first one is Bournemouth. It's at home. It's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere again towards the game, and just be present and be in the moment, and let's see what happens.
I think it's a good news. Obviously, it's something that we were trying to get last weeks, but now we still want more points. We know that we have 3 very difficult games, and starting with tomorrow, but we are going to try to keep being competitive in every game. I think tomorrow is a really difficult game for us, really difficult. They are in a really good form. I think they have no injuries, so I think they will recover Timber and they will be like all the squad available, and they are playing for the title. So at the end it's going to be a really difficult game, and I hope we can be at the level of the game.
If someone had said to you at the start of the season that you'd go on to get a record points tally here at Bournemouth, what would your thoughts have been? Would you have believed it was possible?
Normally I try not to think long term, not try to think in... At the end of the season, I think the table puts you in your place. Right now we know more or less which one will be our position, but it's different. If it's 10th, it's not the same that it's 14th. Or if it's, you have to try to finish as high as possible now.
Obviously, Anton Semenyo got a nasty knock at the weekend. Is there any details on him and any team news ahead of the Arsenal game?
Yeah, no, probably the best news this week. The MRI has been clear. He has even doing some things with the team this week. So I think he's gonna be involved in the squad. So it's probably the best news for us this week. Yes.
How big a boost is that? Because it looked very serious at the time, and the initial noises were that it could be, really serious.
Yeah, it looked ugly. Really looked ugly. But I think he's so strong. He has so strong muscles that keep his structure, everything in place. That everything has been clear. He had some bruise, but he has been involved in training already, so, and he's ready to travel with us, and he will be part of the squad. Yes.
Obviously, next Arsenal. It doesn't get much more difficult than that in the Premier League this season. Why do you think they have been so good? When you look at your analysis, when you look at what Mikel Arteta has done, the team, the way they play, what separates them from perhaps the other sides?
A lot of things that they do very well, but I would say especially that they are elite level football players, but their work rate, their discipline, their sense of collectiveness is like if they were not elite level. They have this humbleness to do all the stuff without the ball, recovery runs, and that makes them very difficult to beat. And they don't concede chances, they don't concede goals. It's the team by far of all the league conceding less everything, less corners, less goals, less chances, less. And I think this is because they have a very good work rate, probably in comparison to other big clubs that also have very, very good players, but I think they are playing really well.
A difficult game between two teams that are on form at the moment. Arsenal obviously going for the big prize. That North London derby win, a huge one for them. Nervy at the end, though.
Yeah, but I was impressed because I think you saw all the sides of this new Arsenal team. I thought you saw the brilliance in attack in the first half, the organisational, from a set-piece point of view, scoring goals in any way they can. Real dominance in their performance in the first half. Then something went wrong. They gave away the goal in a dreadful manner, David Raya, with his mistake. And then you've got your backs to the wall. Then you need to dig it out. Then you need to show the togetherness and the desire to get over the line in a derby, in your direct rivals' home ground. Yep. And they did that. So I thought it was a hugely impressive performance from them. And it's a great new look Arsenal that actually makes you believe that they could win the Premier League at the moment. And you look back to Arsenal 3 seasons ago, maybe, you couldn't imagine when Mikel Arteta went into Arsenal a couple of seasons back that they'd be in a position now where people are actually saying what a team they are. And great credit to them. I think they look like they're a team that will compete for a few seasons, but they'd love to get over the line this season, and they have to win games like this one against Bournemouth. It's an informed Bournemouth team as well. I'm sure they'd like a much easier task. It's not straightforward, but you'd expect Arsenal to get the job done.
Bukayo Saka scored in the North London derby. He's on 15 goals and 9 assists. One more assist takes him into double figures for goals and assists. And he would do it in back-to-back seasons. Only Dennis Bergkamp has managed that for Arsenal of late.
Yeah, he's the star boy, and that's what they call him. I think he's been outstanding, Saka, for Arsenal. And even when he's not on top form, he still has a big impression in football matches. These are some of his goals he's scored this season and assists. He's been outstanding, to be fair, combining there with Havertz. This is a good ball. And he hadn't been in fantastic fantastic form, but if you put the ball, Elsie will tell you, if you put the balls into dangerous areas, what Saka does. And for me, this is a brilliant goal, but Ben Davies should know, the defender, he wants to come in on his left foot. But once he gets into that position, Saka, the composure he shows to put it in the back of the net is fantastic. And I think he's been outstanding. And he's only going to get better and better working with better players, but he's a fantastic young talent.
Let's talk about Bournemouth, the opposition for the Gunners at the Emirates Stadium. They've won 6 of their last 10. They've won the last 2 back-to-back without conceding a goal.
Yeah, I mean, what a wonderful season Bournemouth are having. And having watched them early in the season, I was concerned. I thought they looked like they were really struggling. I wondered if the ownership had made the right decision in bringing in Iraola, because I couldn't see the plan.
Yeah.
Fast forward to now, and what a decision it looks, because they're playing terrific. They're an exciting team. They're a dynamic team. They're exactly what the Premier League is, and you enjoy watching. So, yeah, I think they'll go into this game really calm and composed and thinking of it as an opportunity to put a good display on. And I think they certainly will do that. They'll put a good display in, because that's how they performed recently.
Yeah, they've got attacking talent as well. The likes of Kai Havertz been outstanding, and Solanke, he's had a fantastic season. Probably unlucky not to be in and around the England squad, but that's just because of the form of Watkins this season. But they've got they can cause them a lot of problems. But I agree with Leon. I thought Bournemouth might get relegated, and was it the right appointment? But credit to the manager, he's done a fantastic job.
Absolutely, one of the form teams in the Premier League. You mentioned Justin Kluivert, and I want to talk about him a little bit, because he's got 4 goal involvements in his last 6 Premier League matches. That is as many as he did in his first 23.
Yeah, he's full of confidence. And listen, when you find a home and the manager keeps picking you, you're going to cause problems. He's really sharp. He can play on either side, or he can play in the number 10 role. And he just wants to score goals. I think some of his link-up play has been outstanding. This was obviously against Man United. I don't know where Man United's defending is, but once he gets into that position, it's a really good finish. Beats Onana at the near post. But he's just a threat. And Leon, he just wants to run in behind, doesn't he?
Yeah, and you know the best thing about him is he wants to score goals. So you've got your Dominic Solanke playing right up top, and you think about a number of players who play in those wide areas or the number 10 role throughout the Premier League. They're really easy on the eye. They play some wonderful football. But they haven't got that goal-scoring instinct. They haven't got that desire to get on the score sheet week in, week out. He does, and it just changes the whole dynamics of a team and what your team look like. Suddenly, you've got options at the top end of the field. Suddenly, you can rely on more than your number 9 and your striker to score goals, and that unsettles the opposition. You're not sure where the goals are coming from, and he's really grown into this Premier League season, and he looks like somebody who could even be better next season.
We're going to talk about City next. Before we do, though, I want to focus on the title race as a whole. Still 3 teams in it for you, or is it just down to Arsenal now to chase City?
For me, it's just Arsenal and Man City now. I think Liverpool have blown it with the last few results they've had, and I just think it'll be down to Arsenal and Man City. I still believe, I said it from the start of the season, Man City, they're the type of teams that can win every game from now to the end of the season. They have got some tough games. Credit to Arsenal, because last season you saw Arsenal drop off. They've maintained it, but that's because they've strengthened good areas. The likes of Declan Rice have been really good signings this season. But I still think it's Man City's to lose. Another
area they've really strengthened is the mentality as well. If people accuse them of bottling it last season, you can't say it this season if they don't go on and win it, because they've shown a lot of strength in games where they've needed to. Against City is one example as well, against Liverpool.
Yeah, I think they're making steps forward. Yep. You know, we're seeing, you know, I've already commented on how they progressed over a few seasons. Last year they came out of the blocks so brilliantly, and they blew down Manchester City, which is disappointing from their point of view, but you know, they are still pushing at the business end of the season. Barring that they had last season, I think they get over the line. I think this team now is ready for it. Unfortunately for them, they're in a position where, with the game in hand, they're probably going to be chasing down Manchester City, which is disappointing from their point of view, but you know, they are still pushing at the business end of the season. Barring that surprise Aston Villa result, they're still pushing and they're still bearing down, and that's a good sign for a team that is young and hungry and has years ahead of it.
Leon makes a great point. I think this team would have won it last year, because you know why? Saliba and Declan Rice. Remember, Saliba picked up an injury. They didn't have Saliba to the back end of the season. Them two have formed that partnership alongside Gabriel, that triangle, and it's been outstanding. Obviously, we know about the attacking option they have with Havertz, and Odegaard and people like that, Saka, Martinelli. But I think that three have been outstanding.
Yeah, it's just a great goal and worth looking at. Who else is having a great season? It's Bukayo Saka.
Yes.
And he got his goal in the North London derby, which means he scored in 2 North London derbies in a season. He's the first Englishman to do it since... You won't know him.
Charlie George.
You won't know him.
This is a great one.
Yeah.
I know. So, you know, I'm just so proud of him, so pleased what he's done, the pressure he's had on
He's after all your records, though, isn't he?
He can take them all as long as Arsenal continue to do this. You know, he's a great little player. He's fantastic for the club, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, this is against... You just can't... Well, how can they give me that much space?
That was a great kit, right?
You know, the thing is, yeah, that was a great
I don't know
kit.
if they've given you the space or if it's just your instinct. That's a lovely goal as well.
Yeah, that was a good one as well. Yeah. I preferred playing at White Hart Lane. I didn't... Because the pressure to play at home in that derby and lose at home was too much. So I preferred playing at White Hart Lane. Always played better there.
Talking about pressure, it got pretty pressured towards the end of that North London derby. At 3-0 up, you think this is going to be it. And then last season must have been running through your mind come the end of that game where Arsenal had those 3 draws in a row and where it kind of felt like it was just slipping out of their grasp.
Yeah, and it was like self-inflicted, you know, and we're playing at the back. And I was saying that in that instant, because Tottenham are looking for anything to try and get back in the game. And unfortunately, when it went back to David Raya, he didn't quite make his mind up. Then he tried to chip it in, he half-done it, and then you could feel... Then you started to think, oh, no. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's self-inflicted, and you start to worry. But then, you know, then they scored a penalty. But after that, in respect to David Raya, unbelievable performance. Came and took everything, made everything... Yeah. You know, it made it very comfortable for the defenders and that. And then, obviously, we won the game. But, like, you are... petrified in that one when they come to 3-2 because, you know, watching Chelsea against Villa and Villa couldn't keep them off them, I thought I was starting to feel that was happening with Arsenal if they kept going. And, you know, obviously there's a couple of decisions that could have went Tottenham's way, but to get that one done in such an atmosphere and take the emotion out of that game because it was all about winning it, I thought that was brilliant in the end.
There was a shot of Declan Rice after the penalty went in and they were walking back to the middle of the pitch. And he was like, come on, let's go. You know, and last season, I don't think you would have saw that. You know, heads might have been a little bit down. And I think that's what Declan gives you, even though his personality and those, that's what you need. We've all been there. It's, you know your players when it's difficult. And I think Declan's at his best when it's difficult. And I love the fact that that team bounced back and won that game because they've achieved so much, this Arsenal team. And they're in a different place. You know, they really are. I think they're ready to take it if Man City slip up.
And even if they are in a different place, it still would have been those memories from last season. And even if there are significant changes in terms of the team, they do have those voices in there who are driving them forward. It was still nervy in terms of just memories apart from anything else.
Yeah, and, you know, as a player, you learn from that. But it's interesting what you say, Declan Rice being one of the players in that moment yesterday at 3-2, and you're thinking, wow, you know, this could end badly. But he wasn't there last season, but he will have watched it all unfold when he was at West Ham. And he knew what he was coming into, and he's been absolutely unbelievable since the second he walked through the doors at Arsenal to where he was yesterday. And it's people like him that have made this team stronger. And you're looking at them walking out onto the pitch. They are a massive team in personalities and stature. They've just got so much more about them this season. And Arteta, like, I don't think he's getting enough credit, to be really honest with you.
I think that when you look at you have to look at City. Let's face it, you look at City and I still look at, and I'm not sure where they're going to drop points, but we're talking about trying to chase down a team that are going for 4 on the spin. That would make them the greatest ever team in the Premier League. And I think that when you look at some like Arsenal fans, they're very despondent and that. They shouldn't be despondent because you're trying to chase down, like, I don't know, a spaceship on a bike. Yeah. Right? And
well, their squad is a bit better than yours, isn't it? Just
a bit, but like I think that the mere fact that you've just got to keep going, keep putting them under pressure, you never know what's going to happen. I'm pleased that they're in that position is.
If they don't win it this season, the title, Arsenal, where do you think that puts them next season? Are they just going to keep going again until they get it?
They're going to have to because you can't just stop. It's like, oh, you're not going to clock off. You have to take from, obviously, last season. I think they've improved this season. So I know the margins are very small. Liverpool found that, you know, losing out to them so narrowly on a couple of occasions. But the margins are so small, then you're starting to go into... You've got to think about having a season where you don't lose. This is the margins that are set. The bar is so high, Kels. You know what I mean? No, it's like, I don't know if Arsenal could do any more. Like when we looked at Liverpool, when they lost in those seasons, they can't do any more. Because this team, they just keep pushing the bar more and more, and this is why. You can't take anything away from what your team's doing, because actually, again, they're overachieving trying to catch up with this team.
I don't think there's any shame if Arsenal don't win the league at all. I think they're building one of the best projects in the world of football. I think they're ahead of schedule, big time. So this summer, recruitment-wise, will be massive. Everybody criticised the Kai Havertz thing and stuff.
Yeah.
He looks like he's been an absolute diamond of a signing. So they're going to get some brilliant players in the summer, and I think they're going to push. You know, if Pep leaves Man City eventually, they're going to be the ones.
You think?
Arsenal, because I think they're building this talented young team. They just need a bigger squad. They need They need a striker. They need a bit more depth when they need to make changes. But I think they're right there.
It's interesting you say about Kai Havertz, because I was one of the people at the start of the season, I wasn't sure where he's going to be best. And I still don't think, even Arsenal fans, I'm not sure whether they can identify where his best position is. For me, it's not in the midfield, but it's not as an out-and-out striker. He's somewhere in between. But I think this is where Arteta's a little bit ahead of the curve. I think he's identifying players now for spaces, not formations or positions. And I think Kai Havertz is the absolute epitome of that. That what he brings to the team, it's unidentifiable, but it's effective.
It's because you see him, Kel, he'll pop up, whatever position he pops up in the pitch, it's like he morphs into that player, like the pass for Saka, he drops into the left. An unbelievable pass. If a top midfield player plays that pass, we'll be talking about it. As a centre forward, the physicality, the holding up, the finishing, you know, wherever he ends up, whether it's 9, 10, 8, he'll do the job.
But you know, Izzy, we were just talking about coaching badges, and you know, Izzy's on that, just on that journey. I was thinking, if you were a coach and you had somebody like that at your disposal, he'd play all the time. I think he's that talented. He can play so many different positions, and I think he gets a little bit maybe misinterpreted because of his body language, and he's got that Ozil vibe about him sometimes.
Yes.
But he's like 6'2", he's got great technique, he can play about 4 different positions, and every coach that has him, Chelsea, Arsenal, everybody plays him. Everybody, and that tells you he's a player's player. I know he's not a number 9, but I just think this kid is so talented. And I think if I was a coach, he'd be the guy I'd want to play, because I think you know what you can give. And he scored the winner in the Champions League final.
Absolutely.
He's big in big moments.
Big game player.
Izzy, just say a bit more about that idea of Arteta identifying a player for spaces rather than positions.
Well, I think that football now is... There's a lot of research out there at the moment that playing centrally gets you results in games. And I mean, playing more possession stats of a football match are always assessed post-game. But the stats of your possession that happens in the middle of the pitch is so important for winning games, because it's the control of the opponent. And we know it's all about manipulating spaces and stuff like that. But when you've got players that know which spaces to occupy, which spaces become free on the pitch, and they have the nous to go into them and play in them, it almost makes formations irrelevant. Because we spend a lot of time talking about how a team is going to line up. You know, are they 4-3-3, 3-5-2, whatever. But actually, if you take the average positions of every player post-game and then say, well, actually, this is the system we played, instead of identifying it before, because you don't know what the game's going to give you. And how many times do you hear coaches speaking post-game about, we didn't know how they were going to set up today, but we went with what they thought they were going to do. And then it's how you adapt in game. And ultimately, as a coach, on the sideline, you can't get your messages across to your players too often because of the noise inside a stadium. So if you can empower your players to understand where they have to exploit...
And why.
And why. And it's just the pure manipulation, I'm going to get the better of you. And it's all about taking your opponent, you know, into a place they don't want to go.
Yeah, it's almost kind of coming full circle again from players who want to be coached in every single sort of minute aspect. Is giving them a little bit more power back to them. When we talked as well, it's not just about the players who've been added, it's not just about the way that Arsenal have set up under Arteta. We've talked about the sort of resilience that they have. And you mentioned the mistake made by David Raya. And what your comments on that are is how he recovered from that and the game that he had having made the mistake. Because players, goalkeepers will make mistakes.
That's one of the maddest passes
and it's
ever.
Just like...
You know what?
I'm not... well, first...
You know the thing is,
like, we're going to come back and we're going to talk nicely about him, but who's he passing to?
Well, he's picking out a very difficult pass, and I think that what happened there, which was unbelievable in that particular mirror.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like someone shot him out. Someone shot him out of a cannon. He just went and he didn't stop. And I think that he got there so quick in his eye line. I think that as the ball's coming to Raya, I think he's trying to pick up maybe Thomas Partey with I think he's there just on the right. And then he stops because he's got Richarlison coming and all of a sudden he sees Romero there and he's trying to chip a very difficult ball.
You can't even do that with your good foot, righty, in that moment. Never mind with your left.
And the thing is, the ball's not moving quick enough for him to get the... And I was thinking, oh my God, just clear it. And the problem I had with that situation, Kels, was it was 3-0 at the time and they were cruising, but Tottenham was still in the game because they had a lot of possession in the game. To the point where my Tottenham mates are saying, we outplayed you. When it was 3-0, I said, OK, I'll give you that one. But the thing is, Kels, we gave them a way back in and the crowd got into it and then they scored that goal and obviously it's and so then it starts to get nail-biting. But I think the way he dealt with it afterwards and the players dealt with it, they calmed themselves down and finished the job. And that was what you have to take from that game.
Because I was thinking back to last season, because, I mean, you think about Aaron Ramsdale making a mistake in the Tottenham game, and it's not to dig at Aaron Ramsdale, but he would appear to look, or he would look much more affected by his mistakes on the pitch than Raya. And that's part of what you were saying earlier about having a Declan Rice in there or having these characters in there. And Raya seems to be one of them that can make a mistake, things can go wrong, but he can just reset and go cold again.
That is the hardest thing for a professional football player to deal with, that mistake. Because you sat down, you're thinking, oh, what have I done?
Yeah.
I've let him back into the game. And to mentally be able to try and forget that and play as well as he did just tells you that he's a top player. Because a lot of people, and I've been there, you can fold, and you can crumble. And for him to be able to find a way to bounce back, and that's what makes him a pro, a top player, is dealing with that moment and coming out of it well. In the dressing room, the way his teammates hugged him at the end of the game tells you a lot about the way they think about him as well. So I thought he come through massively in that moment.
With all these positives for Arsenal, and correctly, we're speaking about the positives for Arsenal at the moment after that performance and that result in the North London derby. Do you think they win every game between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult still, because I think Bournemouth will be a tough game at home, like all of the games are for Arsenal leading into this run-in. But I do think that they can win the last 3 games. But then I genuinely believe that, to see Man City slip up will be... I can't see it. Like, even Pep saying if they draw, Arsenal win the title. That's him saying to his players, we can't even afford to draw. That's what that is. Not him saying, oh, Arsenal's so good, even if we draw, we're going to win. He's saying we can't even afford to draw. And that's what I want. That's all Arsenal can do, is just keep winning those and putting the pressure back on them.
There's a really difficult decision coming up for Tottenham fans when they play Manchester City, because either they beat Manchester City and put Arsenal in the driving race for the title, or they lose against Manchester City, put Manchester City in the driving race, but in the process might miss out on Champions League football next season. It's got quite tough decisions ahead and quite tough days ahead for Tottenham fans. But in terms of the games that Arsenal and City have got left, these are starting to look a lot more manageable, certainly as far as the graphic is concerned.
I know.
We can read them a bit more quickly now, but it's hard to see where these teams are going to slip up, Izzy.
I'm looking at Manchester City's fixtures there, and I think that is a tough run. I really do. I think the Fulham game could become unpredictable. The Tottenham game, we know how Tottenham can perform against Manchester City. They've done it in the past, they've beaten them. But I was looking at that Everton game for Arsenal at the end, the last game at the Emirates, and I'm thinking Everton are now safe. Had they not been safe, I think that could have been tricky for Arsenal with the way that Everton play, the siege mentality. But I think the pressure's off them a little bit now with Everton. And I think Arsenal win all their games. I think they will. It's just what happens with City.
The other one that that stands out there, I think, between the top two, and I know we've got Liverpool on there, but we'll talk about them in more detail, because this week has sort of seen the end of their title challenge. But that game between Arsenal and Manchester United at Old Trafford, just because Manchester United have got a knack this season, we've talked about many times before, of not necessarily playing well, not winning the stats like Tottenham did against Arsenal yesterday, but winning the game.
Yeah. I mean, they could beat anything, Man United. It's mad. Even the game against Burnley had more possession than Man United at home. I mean, but the thing is, it probably suit United in a way to play on the counter and hit them. But I just think Izzy mentioned about Mikel and so I just think he's done such a brilliant job of formulating game plans to nullify those threats. So I think they'll beat United because United can't control any game. The middle of the pitch is so open, and Arsenal with Ødegaard and Declan in there, they're brilliant. So I don't see it too, and I don't see United beating.
You don't see a lot of chaos in Arsenal games, do you?
No.
You don't see that.
That's the thing with United, and again, any team that goes, even Sheffield United go there and score and make chances. And if you're organised against United and don't get into the noise and the crowd and Bruno and Angelo Garnacho doing their stuff and just stay calm, you will play through them. Then it comes down to how many chances can Onana save for them. You know what I mean? I'm not saying... You know, I've seen it all season.
Saved a few against Burnley,
yeah,
didn't he?
He saved a few against Burnley. So, again, you look at that game, and whereas before you look at it and say, Arsenal, Man United, oh, my gosh, Arsenal need to win it away from home to win the title, you'd think, boy, this is too tough. But, like, Man United in the current climate, you have to just go and be organised, and you probably can get something from them. Bournemouth game worries me more than anything out of the 3 games.
Not the game against the most dynamic and entertaining team in the league?
What do you mean?
That's what Eric Ten Hag said about Manchester United.
Yeah, to him, you know. And
well, they've been entertaining.
They have been entertaining. But like
roller coaster.
Yeah,
yes, exactly what it is, a roller coaster. And again, I would never write them off simply because of the individuals. But at the same time, you can only go on what you've seen from Arsenal, the facts and the defensive record, the offensive record, you know, the numbers on the players. So you think that the numbers the players are putting up, and you think they can go there and they could cause a problem.
You're kind of right in that you'd watch them. You will watch all of Manchester United's games. They're entertaining in that sense, but only because you've got no idea what's going to happen.
I think a lot of people are finding Manchester United entertaining because they're not where they used to be, and that is something football fans thrive off, isn't it? The rivalries that have been built over the years, and then a team starts to fall off and drop off the pace. I'm sure a lot of United fans are very happy Liverpool are out the title race now, so it's funny how football works, but they're not... I don't think it's controlled chaos at all. I think some managers control chaos. I think Postecoglou, I'm not saying chaos, but he likes that high press, high energy mistakes.
Like
but
with
we've got
Klopp
the energy
first
to
come
get
with
back
the rock
in.
and roll stuff.
Exactly. I don't see that.
Deliberate high risk, rather.
Absolutely. I don't see that in the United. I think fundamentally the spaces that they leave vacant are, you know, they're very dangerous.
I can't believe it. A team of this at that level with a coach, a so-called good coach, the spaces that a team that are second from bottom, and all the teams, but a team that's second from bottom can come to Old Trafford and have the majority of the possession, is just, something's not right.
I can't believe they haven't fixed it. I mean, we saw this from the first game against Wolves. And we thought, oh, maybe it's, you know, early on in the season that, you know, they're not fit personnel-wise. They've had a lot of injuries. Every game is the same. The spaces in there are just... I can't believe they haven't fixed it, you know, the season's almost over. I just think United fans would be delighted when this season's over, because it's been a tough watch.
Burnley fans will be asking us to give Burnley credit, and we will do later in the programme, because we're going to talk about their chances of staying in the Premier League come the end of the season. We've got the supercomputer, and we can predict, or at least the the supercomputer. I'll be glad when this season's over, so I don't have to say that again. The supercomputer and the predictions that have been made suggest that there is a 67.4% chance of Manchester City winning it. Arsenal at 32.5%, Liverpool now at 0.1%. Yeah, and I think that's just because it's not mathematically impossible for them to win it at this stage. But City twice as likely to win it as Arsenal, does that seem right? Especially when City have got more games to play, so that you'd assume there's more room for error.
What they're going on, their history and everything like that. Well, if they are, then you have to say they've...
City's record in these fixtures, the reverse fixtures in the season, is not perfect.
Oh, right.
Well, you just hope that the predictor ain't got a clue what it's on about, really, for Arsenal's sake.
Because
let's face it...
It's based on facts.
It changes his mind every week, doesn't it?
It's based on facts, not vibes, which is what we like to go on here.
Football's not... Football and results and things what happen at this stage of the season, I don't care what they're predicting.
It doesn't understand emotion. It doesn't understand. That's one thing computers can't do.
That's what we've got to watch out for.
Pressure, emotion, they're massive.
Emotion. And how that affects you. That's what this is going to come down to.
Do you think it affected Chris Wood in a Nottingham Forest side who are trying to stay in the Premier League up against a City side who are going for the title? Forest played really well, but Chris Wood...
And again, you know...
I mean, he had more chance, but that was the clearest option.
Who misses those?
You know, the thing is those... You see with that one, though, is that... And I was saying to Owen before, and he missed another one later on in the game, is that ball's come across, so you're seeing it go across. You're keeping your eye on that all the time, Kels. And so when it's come back across, he can see it from the time it hits his foot, the player's foot, to when he's going to cross it, all the way to him. And he still hasn't... Look at him, look. He still hasn't sorted his feet. Yeah. That is the difference. That's the difference. Look where he is. He's in the 6-yard box. You should be expecting that. He's still on his heels. And those are the things... When I watched that, obviously, you know, what it meant to Arsenal, I was devastated.
You know, he's got the highest conversion rate of any player, of any striker in the Premier League this season.
I don't care.
Didn't help him enough.
I don't care. He's got scored on his
The point is because the reason I'm saying that is because we've twice now this season we've shown chances for Chris Wood that he hasn't taken where he would have been expected to score.
Yeah.
And more than twice this season, we've shown chances that you would have been expected to score and didn't. And so we looked, as Izzy asked the question earlier, who misses chances?
Oh, Wright, that's naughty.
Righty, I loved watching you play.
Can I say, I loved you lot. Look at me, get brilliant air post.
All these misses are by request.
You get the shout.
Yeah, but what I love about when them trying to... I said to them, find the misses for me. Yeah. All the misses they come up with are nothing like Chris Wood's.
Nowhere near.
Did you hear the shout of overs?
Overs, thanks, Iz, yeah. But you know what? What I'm saying with that one, Kels, is that I used to, when you're training and when you're doing the finishing, they would always, the stuff is always make sure you're on your toes. So it's gone over there, you're on your toes. Comes back, you're on your toes, so you can make any adjustment. And those are the things what I like. I've worked on that. And that's why I see a miss like that and I think to myself, you're not doing any work. You're in the 6-yard box and you are not ready for a chance.
It had nothing to do with his actually shot. It had to do with his standing leg, didn't it?
Standing leg? You've got to be ready.
He didn't move his feet, did he?
Yeah.
If he moves his feet, he scores easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
What can you do? Everything looks easy when you do it right. It's like quiz questions. They're always easy if you know the answers already.
I know.
We did say when we were talking about the title race that it is all but over for Liverpool.